good time because people are dissatisfied on the right and the left, and there is a possibility that we can even appeal to some of these people on the right, and they're on the right because of a misunderstanding, because they don't really understand some of the issues. I mean, it's just like there are people there who are railing against big government, and yet if they fear big government, they would inevitably fear big corporations. But they haven't been fed that. They haven't.
I did attend a rally in San Francisco against Oxford, and there was demonstrators from both left.
Oh, Jay.
I attended a rally in San Francisco against Oxford and Obama, and there were demonstrators on the right and there were demonstrators on the left. And I went over to the other side and was looking at some of these Tea Party signs, and I agreed with about 2/3 of what they had to say.
I'm thinking that from what I see, many of the progressive Democrats don't understand the issues, and they really won't understand how difficult it is to operate as an independent unit until they form their own party. I hope that they do. I think when they do and they run into all the difficulties that we have, then they'll start to understand, and then things will start to change because they'll have more pull than we do. And until we have multiple viable parties, at least 3, more is even better. I think we won't have real democracy until then. So I say, America puts the moth in democracy.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
I listen to progressive talk radio, and there's a progressive talk show out of LA. He's an attorney. But he's syndicated now in a lot of stations in this country. He's been around for about 50 years. And he's calling for the beginning and the starting up of a third party. And you should hear the people calling in. They are hungry for this. So it's going to take someone like him, unfortunately, to bring about that. Because one, he's got the ear of the people because he's on the radio. And people are still always looking for that leader as opposed to finding the leadership within themselves. So Norm Coleman is his name. And actually, he's a progressive Democrat. And I think he's a pretty okay guy. I've been listening to him.
What station is that?
He's on it's out of San Francisco, Ring 960 a.m. He's on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. His headquarters is down in LA, but he is syndicated to the San Francisco station. And he's got people, and he's actually calling for this third party of, he wants the right, the left, progressives, independents to come together, who are disenfranchised, who are angry about what's going on. And I think he's on the right track. I really honestly do, in the sense that just to hear what people have to make comments about what he's saying. And he goes around and he talks, in different cities throughout the country as well. So he's getting a strong following. And I think it's going to take something like that, to bring about.
Two comments in response to that. One is the Progressive Caucus is touring the United States right now, having little town halls so they can hear what people have to say. And there's one coming up in Oakland really soon, in the next 2 or 3 days, I think. Rich Alva and Barbara Lee are going to be there, and so is Nancy Pelosi. I don't know how she fits in there, but three of them. And the other thing I wanted to say is, I think your point about looking for a big leader instead of looking for leadership myself, I think that's true. And historically, if you end up having a whole lot of people following one leader and something happens to that that leader, well, it all falls apart. That's not good.
Or something happens to that leader that he goes down the wrong path and people are still following. Yeah, I agree. I think we need to have more like separate councils, and we come together in a council or something like that, but no one leadership. That's the way I would.
But like from the leader thing, you know, there's a lot of rock and roll stars that are sort of political movement leaders, you know, and you know, the ones that are really doing that, they operate on thin profit margins, you know. They're just trying to pay for the gas to get to the next town to do the next show kind of thing. And you know, I mean, it's like, I want to honor that kind of leadership because, you know, they do their show and then they go. Maybe they leave behind some thoughtful music for you to listen to or share with your friends. And you know, there's people that follow their favorite artists for like 50 years. And if they just see them once every few years, that's all the leadership they want. You know, and that's a comfortable kind of politics for people that don't like incumbents and don't want.
It's not going to get rid of them.
What?
It's not going to get rid of what's in there. We can't let people do the comfortable thing. They've been doing the comfortable thing, and that's why we're where we are.
Well, I think the people you're talking about are different from the people I'm talking about.
Too many people of who you're talking about and who I'm talking about are doing the comfortable thing instead of taking their responsibility.
We all have good ideas, but maybe we should let our speaker please take over.
That'd be good.
Right. We've interrupted.
No, but it's good to hear, you know, what, because I mean, I think it's good that everybody's thinking about these things. And I mean, what are my thoughts on it are that, yeah, I mean, you know, the role of leadership is often something that is ignored in the left, and the reason that it's ignored in the left is because you know, if you come from a line of thinking where you really want to create something that's absolutely egalitarian, then you know, there shouldn't be someone who's rising above the rest. But the fact is that popular movements usually, I mean, if they are to be sustained, I mean, it's possible. I mean, what we saw in Egypt and Tunisia are examples of popular movements that had, as they themselves said, no leadership. These were leaderless movements, at least at the beginning. But for them to be sustained, I think they're going to need leaders. And the reason is because for a sustained movement, the general population tries to anthropomorphize a movement, and you know, you want to look to a person whom you can maybe identify with, and I mean, just like the role of Dr. Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, people latched onto the movement because there were some very charismatic leaders. And in the left, we tend to downplay leadership and try to play up mass action.
But they need a spokesperson.
You need a spokesperson. You need someone who is charismatic and who can sort of galvanize that movement at the same time without suppressing the development of leaders, you know, immediately below. I mean, one of the worries that Venezuelans have about Hugo Chavez when he was sick was that if he dies, then you see he is not. I think Venezuela has been a bit deficient in terms of developing a second tier of leadership, or else a leadership that consists of not one person but rather of several people or many people. And so I think what we need to do is, in the left, is we need to do more of leadership development. The other thing is the question of credibility. When we go and you know, we do a lot of protesting and saying what shouldn't be done. We do a lot of protesting against things, and I think we need to do more about be talking more about concrete solutions. Because, I mean, for example, one of the big things that's happening in all of local government is that because of the budget crisis, they're laying off people and they're cutting services, right? And so the response is no cuts. Okay? We don't want any cuts in services. But is that realistic? What is needed, because the counter is that, well, there are no funds
going to the wars
to pay for to maintain libraries and police and fire and other types of local services at their former levels.
Absolutely.
So what's needed is a solution, right? That
stop war and tax the rich.
You know, where is their waste? I mean, San Jose still has, for example, an old city hall building that's completely empty. Right? Why don't they do something with that building? So we need to look at solutions and propose these as part of a comprehensive package. And the other thing I think that we need to do is take some of the programs that we have championed on the left and among progressives, and you know, really make a. I mean, we need to make a stronger effort to educate people on those solutions which we do have that are sort of win-win solutions. Okay, and an example of a win-win solution is single-payer healthcare, because single-payer healthcare is one that will provide universal access to healthcare and also reduce costs. So it's not something where you have to do a trade-off between cost benefits, right? But the rest of the country doesn't seem to know that yet.
Why can't they catch that idea? Why can't they? Is it personal fear or something?
It's because, well, I guess there's a failure to get that message out. There's a lot of wrong information that is, of course, being put out there by the right wing, by the insurance companies, and even by mainstream Democrats, right? I mean, the very fact.
There's, you know, like the whole of Washington D.C.